I think, yeah, they are looking to escalate situations that don't need to be escalated because, like you said, you are to protect and serve. Protect someone having a psychological issue, and you're not doing that. And it's a shame that somebody who served our country, who, you know, nobody gets special treatment, but you know he has PTSD, you know he served. Why aren't you looking out for him?
Right, Anthony, before you and Scooter chime in, I feel like he should have got special treatment. He wasn't trying to kill nobody. That man served for us. And I feel just like I said last week, I feel like military should not have to pay for health care. You give the government, all of the people that sit in the house, they get health care for the rest of their life. Why are you not giving these men and women top health care when they serve for us? And to me, they shouldn't have to pay for housing. Their housing should be paid for the rest of their lives. That's just how I feel, but that's my opinion. So go ahead, Anthony and Scooter, if you guys want to chime in.
Well, you know, the thing with PTSD, knowing firsthand about it, like I told you before, like I told you earlier, I don't like to call it as a disease because it's something that you really can't cure it. But on the other hand, as the police officers, it's kind of crazy to say that they need to have more training. I feel that they actually know what it's about. Like she said, they like to de-escalate. They don't want to bring it down. They like to take it up a notch.
Yeah.
PTSD is something that you can see that in a person, especially knowing that they served in the military. Between when we go to tiers of military, we go top tier, and I'm just saying it for the way that the branches are set off. You have the military. The Marines usually go in, and they're the tip of the spear, you know. So they don't really have Marines that are in offices and stuff like that. So about 90% of the Marine Corps has seen action. On top, you take 80% of that has seen a dead body. About 45, 50 to 60% of those have actually killed a person, you know. So and then you bring it down, and then you have the Army, and the Army works hand in hand with the Marines, and they do a lot of the same stuff, but the Marines are just more of the dirty workers. And then you have the Navy and the Air Force. So at the end of the day, anything can trigger your PTSD. And as you said, the guy had the Marine had his gun pointed down. Yeah, he's not a threat. The first thing they teach us in Satin Bath is anytime you're entering a situation and it's non-hostile, you conduct yourself in a non-hostile way. You keep your gun and you keep your composure in a non-hostile way, because any reaction from you can set off a firecracker. It can set off and switch the whole situation from being compliant to non-compliant.
Wow.
You know? So at the end of the day, if the police officer she talked to, I guarantee was not the police officer that came up behind him. It probably 9 times out of 10 was the police officer that was talking to him. But you do have that, we like to call them John Wayne boys. We do have those guys that come up, and instead of diffusing the situation, they think they're helping the situation by trying to be over aggressive. If it works, they become the guy that's like, well, you know, I saved your butt. But if it doesn't work, somebody's going to a funeral.
I think they just want to mix it up. But he might have been suicidal. You know, why aren't you talking to him? And that's the thing. So instead of saving his life, you ended up taking it. Right? You take it.
Yeah, you take it. And it's something that you can't give anybody back. You can't give it back. You can't give back a life and unless you have a baby or something like that. And taking somebody's life like that, especially in front of kids. Now you have to look at the kids. The kids may never serve a day in their life in the military, but I guarantee right now they can be diagnosed with PTSD. Why?
Absolutely.
Because what they saw was their dad murdered in the streets, and what they saw him murder with was a gun. So you never know. Every 4th of July, they may hear firecrackers. They may go crazy. Anything sets off. PTSD is just it's more of a reaction. You hear something that brings up a bad memory, your body shuts down, and you really can't control it. You can't control it. You know, and people ask me all the time, they're like, well, man, when you was over there, what you do? I tell them about certain good stuff. Like when, yeah, man, you know, we got good packages and the food was decent, this, that, third. I rarely.
Depending on what base you was at.
Yeah, it depends. True, right?
Mine sucks.
I don't like to talk about certain things and do certain things because of the simple fact of what it brings up.
Mm.
You know, it's things that I saw over there that I would never wish on anybody. And this is just seeing them like, this is real, this is crazy. But then again, you have to look at it as you have some people that take, two people can be standing looking at the same thing, but their PTSD is going to be totally different. It's just the way that the body, it's the way that the mind and the body is going to react to it. In this situation here, he wasn't causing the threat. They may have not been able to take his gun from him. But then again, it's a very good chance that they could have taken his gun from him and he could have went on home without all of the extra backup help, as they say it. But that's just, I'm not going to say that's just how they are. I don't know if, I think it's more fear than anything.
Yes.
I think it's fear. You give the wrong guys the right power.
I like that.
It's a different type of level.
A gun and protection as well.
You give them a gun and a badge, and you give them
no accountability.
And right, it's a different level. It's borderline, and this is crazy to say it, but I mean it happens here. It's borderline terrorism.
All right, we go. Yes, he hit where I want to go.
I have a comment from one of our listeners, and she says she never understood we had rules of engagement of when to shoot, etc. What are the rules of engagement for police?
Wow. Oh, that's a good one.
But not to shoot. Well, a law enforcement officer can shoot at any point that he feels like his life is in danger. His life is in threat of serious physical harm. And when I say serious physical harm, I mean harm that could kill you. Like, that's what I mean by serious physical harm or serious threat of immediate death. Did you hear what I said? Immediate death, which means that if I don't shoot you, I know right now I could die. Like, immediately it can happen. And a lot of times I think that you have to define what fear is, because all of us have different fears. I mean, not being funny, Scooter, Anthony, we grew up in the hood. I ain't trying to be funny. I was a little fighter. So you jumping and yelling at me is not fear for me. I'm looking like we gonna rumble. I'm cute, but I can rumble now. Don't get it twisted. So, but whereas you may get somebody that's not from our neighborhoods and just the reaction that moving around had them like grabbing for their gun. I'm like, what are you doing? So you have got to get a clear cut definition of what does fear mean.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
it seems like. Go ahead.
The biggest thing is, well, what needs to happen is we need to stop putting these people in situations where they've never grown up or done anything like it. You can't take somebody that's never been in a fight, never had a boyfriend, girlfriend, never had anybody try to talk to them in high school, college, or whatever else, and then put them out here in these situations where this is all you're really getting coming at you and expect them to perform well. It's not something that you can teach somebody. It's something that has to be embedded in you, and you have to know portions of it. So if you have somebody coming at you, they might be yelling. I mean, you can think about the police officers. If you grew up in a home where you had both parents, you didn't see anybody fighting, you didn't get in any tussles or anything like that, and then you run across somebody who is typically, as they say, from New York, they're loud, they yell, they argue, but it's not a bad thing. They're not trying to fight. So how do you expect somebody that's never dealt with it to deal with it if you don't teach them? You can't teach that to somebody in a matter of 5 classes, 6 months.
Nah, it's situational. Everything is
right. Yeah.
Everything is situational.
Because you got to have more cosmetologist hours in Ohio than you do police training. I think fear is often used as a loose interpretation as far as fear. And we see a lot of these incidents that are happening. People aren't doing anything. They're just minding their own business. And then they go up and escalate the situation and then use, I fear for my life, when you were the instigator, initiator, and aggressor.
Absolutely.
And the only person with a weapon.
That was good. Yeah, misinterpreted. Yeah, that's misinterpreted.
And that was a good one. So we have a video that we want to show you all. Elijah McClain. Am I correct?
Yes, Elijah McClain.
It is very graphic. I have not seen it yet. My co-host have. Y'all know I'm a crybaby. So if I cry, it's okay. You know, I've been trying my best to conduct myself as a lady at all times. Well, so if one curse word slip up, y'all, don't judge me. God ain't done with me yet. So I'm gonna head over to this video real quick. Share screen. So y'all know y'all got to bear with me. You know I'll be so confused.
Okay.
Okay, let me make sure this is the right one. Tell me if this is the right one, Jay. Can you see it?
No, that's the
second
the one where the protesters.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let me go back out of here. How do I stop share? Okay, let me go into, hold on 1 minute, you all. I'm pretty good. I was getting pretty good at this thing right here.
You still doing good.
You know,
when you stop having that reaction of being upset or swearing or crying, that's when we know, like, it's just gone too far. I mean, it's
right.
You still have your humanity in your response to it, and so that's nothing to like have to give a disclaimer for. This should
No
be
apology. No
every
apology
single time.
necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love y'all. Okay, here we go. This is Elijah. It should be coming up now. I'm clicking on it. It is. I haven't seen it, you all. So wait a minute. You're not gonna look. Is it that bad?
It's just the whole situation.
Okay, here we go. Let me share this. Share the screen one more time, you guys. I think I'm here. I think I've got it now, Jay. Is that right? That's it?
It looks like I can't see it until you.
They say at a certain
I don't know. You know they always have all kind of stuff
I wonder
on
what
here.
age that is.
You gotta wait for the commercial to go by.
Yes, I gotta wait for the commercial.
And hydrates for your best skin at any age. From easy, beautiful CoverGirl.
I hope that's right.
It's August 24, 2019 in Aurora, Colorado. A security camera picks up 23-year-old Elijah McClain at this Shell gas station buying soft drinks and wearing a face mask. His family lawyer told NBC News he was in the habit of wearing this mask. After paying for his items, he turns around and bows to the man behind him in line. His family told NBC News this was his signature gratitude bow. At 10:30 p.m., a man calls 911.
We should have a mask on. He looks sketchy. He might be a good person or a bad person.
Yeah.
So, mask on.
Okay. Were any weapons involved or mentioned?
No.
Okay. What color is the mask, or what does it look like?
Black.
Black mask?
He's like a...
Is it like a ski mask, or what type of mask is it?
Yeah, like a ski mask.
Elijah McClain is walking home from a nearby Shell gas station. He's holding a plastic bag with his purchases. At 10:43 p.m., Aurora police officer Nathan Woodyard spots McClain.
Stop right there. Hey, stop right there. Stop. 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 I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
9 seconds after exiting his vehicle, the officer initiates physical contact.
Stop.
10:44 p.m. Officer Jason Rosenblatt and Officer Randy Rodema are now also on the scene and surround McClain.
No, I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries that I am speaking. Stop tensing up. Stop. Relax. Stop. I'm going home. Relax, or I'm going to have to change this situation. Stop. Leave me alone. Stop. No, I want to get leave me alone. No, we're gonna. First off, you guys started to arrest me, and I was stopping my music to listen.
The situation escalates when the officers try to move McClain onto the grass. Officer Woodyard's body cam is knocked to the ground.
Yes.
Officer Rodema says this. It's unclear from the body cameras whether or not McClain reached for an officer's weapon. All three officers wrestle McClain to the ground.
Give us more. Give us some more units. We're fighting them.
At this moment, one of the officers uses a carotid control hold on McClain, a tactic that involves an officer placing his arm around a subject's neck, applying pressure, and restricting blood to the brain via the carotid arteries. Responding officers later told an Aurora police investigator that McClain briefly went unconscious, and the officers released the hold. At 10:46 p.m., just over 2 minutes after the first officer made contact with him, McClain is pinned to the ground and says this.
There's no fighting us on the ground. I'm going to Elijah McClain. We're ready to use carotid. That's what I was doing. I was just going, oh, I'm an introvert and I'm different. He come out? He's out? Was he out? I heard you snoring. I just he wasn't completely. He didn't lose consciousness. Yeah. I'm just different. I'm just different. That's all. It was actually Rosenberg. Your gun, dude. I have no gun. That's where I tried carotid. I don't do that stuff. I don't do any fighting. Other units that are not here. They can slow it down a little bit. I don't do guns. I don't even kill flies. I don't eat meat. Do we have anything other than him being suspicious? No. No. I mean, I tried to stop him. Start walking away. Yeah, keep trying to slow everybody down.
Responding officers later tell an investigator that McClain was actively resisting and fighting the officers' attempts to place him into handcuffs.
So I was trying to do. I tried. We started that because he reached for Rose's gun. Okay. We had him on the wall.
At 10:49 p.m., McClain throws up a first time.
Stop. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do that. I can't breathe correctly because...
Over the next 4 minutes, McClain gets sick a few more times. Officers are also heard multiple times asking him to stop fighting.
You rolling this way, dude? Yeah. Are you able to? Legs locking up. There you go. Just like that. You're good. Don't get up, dude. It's not going to be good for you. I'm telling you right now. If you keep messing around, I'm going to bring my dog out. He's going to dog bite you. You understand me?
At 10:54 p.m., McClain is still on the ground, and an officer says this.
So the ambulance gets here, we're going to go ahead and give some ketamine. Yeah, sounds good. Let's give that a couple minutes. Whatever he's on, he has incredible strength. Yeah, crazy strength.
10:59 p.m., a fire medic administers 500 milligrams of ketamine to McClain in an attempt to sedate him. 2 to 3 minutes later, he is loaded onto an ambulance. And at 11:07 p.m., just over 20 minutes after the first officer made contact, responding officers are told McClain does not have a pulse.
He just scored. Are you serious? Yeah. Okay. So, sit tight.
McClain was resuscitated at the scene and taken to the hospital where he would be declared brain dead 3 days later. The coroner concluded last November that a combination of physical exertion and a narrow left coronary artery contributed to McClain's death, but could not determine the cause of his death. He added that it could have been either an accidental death caused by a reaction to the ketamine, a natural death, or a death linked to the carotid control hold used by officers. The district attorney later announced he would not charge the officers involved, saying that the evidence does not support a conclusion that McClain's death was the direct result of any particular action or individual. The family told NBC News that they believed an independent investigation should have been conducted initially. Now the governor has appointed a special prosecutor to reopen the investigation. We've reached out to the police union for comment and have not heard back.
Okay, I needed to breathe for a minute. I gotta break this video down. Number one, they had no right to stop him. Because my question is, what was he doing suspicious? I'm so sick and tired of people calling and talking. This person's, what the hell was he doing suspicious? Being black?
That's it.
Walking with a mask on his face? So number one, they didn't even have a right to arrest him. So how the hell are you resisting arrest if you have not? I keep telling people, a resisting arrest is a secondary charge. That means I have to place you under arrest. You have to do something for me to arrest you. And then at that point, I have to tell you you're under arrest, then you resist. Number two, I'm not an Einstein. And yes, I have 22 years of police officer experience. I could tell that something was, he was slow. He's like a kid.
That's what I said.
You could tell, and then y'all still threaten. I'm a sick a dog on you. Then one of the officers, are you a doctor? Who are you to say he should be? We need to give him some ketamine.
Right. Just gonna go ahead and shoot him up with some ketamine.
First, and number two, if you were the EMT and you listen to this officer, his family should be suing every last one of them. They murdered that young boy on the street like he was a piece of crap. And every last one of them officers, I'm gonna call it like it's seen, you've been exposed. You need to be fired and you need to be put in jail for murder. Now listen, you know I rock with the good officers. I rock with you all day long. And unfortunately, daily force is sometimes it has to be done. We don't want to do it. And most good officers, if you sit up there and tell a good officer they just took a life, it shakes them. It does something to us, even when it's a good shoot. It because we know we just took a life that we can't give back. So that whole everything that they did was out of line. Even the man that called, he said he's suspicious. He's walking down the street with a mask on. Just because he has a mask on his face, don't make him suspicious. Right.
I mean, when did this happen? I can't remember. What was last year?
August.
No, this was recent. Like last year.
It was last year. So the coronavirus stuff hadn't happened yet. But still.
They said he anemic. That's why he wear a mask. And it's Colorado.
Yeah.
But that's
high, different weather.
Right, but that's another thing, Anthony, what you were saying is almost, and you and Scooter, it's almost like because you don't know the community, because if you were really out in the community, they should have known him. The store owner said he comes there all the time.
All the time.
You don't know this young man?
Him walking. Yeah.
And then when he's saying, I didn't do anything, what are you talking about? Anybody knows anybody that has ADHD, Asperger's, they don't like to be touched, and they're extremely strong.
Right.
He was only 140 pounds, and you're accosted, by somebody you don't know. It's a fight or flight response, but it's three of y'all, and he's 140 pounds.
Right. And my thing is, the other thing I'm going to mention to you all is, did you all hear the officer say he went for my gun? Then the other one, he was strong.
No, he told him, he just grabbed your gun, man. So you don't even know for sure that he grabbed it.
Grabbed the gun, right?
But they know what to say because the body cam's on.
Right, but the
body cams start to make it that I think they know they're being watched, and so you got to say something like they can say, "Oh, well, we can't see the body."
The code words.
The gun from the body cam. So
absolutely.
Now I say it.
My
code words.
Right, and
stay on code.
My issue is if this man was that strong, you mean to tell me y'all got him off that gun that easily? Because somebody is fighting an officer for their gun. And he's that strong, they would have fought. I mean, it would have been a fight. The fight is on. I know because I've had a person that had mental health issues grab for my gun because sometimes, unfortunately, I guess it's some kind of attraction to them. And it was a big guy. He was like 7 or 8 foot. He kept saying, police. He kept patting me on my head. I'm like, oh my God. But my sergeant had told me that he's harmless. Just watch your gun around it because there's something about the gun. They're like kids.
Right.
And thank God that my sergeant says that we know him. So he's not a threat to me. He was taller than me, way taller than me, but he kept saying, oh, pretty police officer, but my thing is, I didn't look at him like that. I looked at him like, this is a man. He just has the mentality of a 4 or 5 year old, and I can respect that. I didn't look at him different. I didn't make fun of him, and was not like in fear of him. Like I wasn't so fearful that I kept my hand on my gun. I just made sure I kept my gun away from him.
Right. Like even his rhetoric of I'm an introvert, I'm different. Those are messages he's heard somewhere else that have made him feel safe and included, and he's trying to speak up for himself.
Right.
He's trying to advocate.
Verbalize it. Yep.
And he's clearly afraid, like, wait. I think he's like cognitively aware that he's different. So in turn, they might be afraid of me. And he's trying to actually calm them down.
But I think it turned them on even more. Because you notice they escalated everything.
Right.
But my thing is, when you walked up to him talking about you acting suspicious, what is suspicious? You're walking. So automatically you judge him by the color of his skin. Last I checked, you can wear whatever you want to. Exactly. So what if he has a ski mask on? Y'all ain't got no phone call saying he robbed somebody?
Right.
He just walking.
There was no phone call about that.
Right.
Just that he had a mask on.
And he's walking. And the fact that this DA didn't find nothing wrong with how they went about even approaching him, first and foremost.
Right.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
I watched the interview that What's his name?
DJ
Cowan. Is that his name?
I don't even know. The district
What's his
attorney?
name? The attorney, but what's the guy that Como? Is it Como?
Oh yeah, Chris Como. He get in that butt.
He was interviewing him. Yeah, he did. He got on him.
He don't play no games.
He basically was saying, I mean, the things that you're saying that you're talking about don't make any sense.
Right. Because he was an attorney too. So he knows what to ask.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, you mean when he was doing the interview with the
district attorney? Yeah.
Absolutely. I just, I think that my heart goes out to his family, and at the end of the show, we will make sure that we say both of their names. I think that this has to serve for law enforcement officers. You gotta have I think it's called let me make sure I say the correct word. It's a crisis intervention team. And it's sad because some departments do have it, but a lot of African-American departments that have, like, the majority of African-Americans, we don't have that. And that's where you have officers that are actually go to training, and they're trained to deal with mental illness, people in crisis. They actually deploy them out to help. And they, the other thing is, I don't know if you all saw this, none of those officers had any kind of compassion. Nope.
Not a one.
All they said was, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
You keep messing around, dude. I'm gonna sick the dog on you.
And my thing was, where did that come from? Like, out of all these guys, he's on the ground. There's 4 of you guys there, so you got 4 people there, and the only thing you can say is, "Oh, he's extremely strong." Okay, he's extremely strong. I get that, but at the end of the day, like you said, they walked up on him. They had really no reason to stop him, and it's crazy. The thing that really kills me is, okay, I live in Virginia. We're an open carry state.
Where at in Virginia?
I live in Chesapeake.
I used to live in Richmond.
Oh, okay, all right. We have an open carry, so anybody, as soon as you go buy a gun, you can buy it, and if your stuff comes back, you can walk out that day. And you can, as soon as you walk out, as soon as you get it, you can place it on your hip as long as it can be seen on 3 sides. Okay, now we all know this. Now, I don't know how many times I've walked into 7-Eleven, Wawa, gas stations, anywhere, Walmart, all types of places, and I see guys open carry. I see white guys open carry. I see black guys open carry. I see people open carry in neighborhoods. They're walking down the streets. They have their guns on their hips and all of that. I've never heard of a phone call saying, "Man, I see this guy, he's got a gun on his hip," and we're in an open carry state.
Wow.
They'll never call. I've never seen a clip of police running up on a guy that's open carry because they got a call saying, "Yeah, this guy's in my neighborhood. He looks suspicious. He's open carry." I've never walked into a store and been behind a guy that had a gun and he's buying something, or he's walking around the store and then he walks out. I never see anybody pick up the phone. A guy just walked in my store. He just walked around the store and walked out. He's open carry. He's got a gun on his hip. I've never heard of anything like that, but I have heard of security guards calling because a kid is walking through some houses and they come to find they don't see a gun. He has an iced tea and some Skittles in his hand. I've seen those phone calls.
Or John Crawford in Walmart, or Tamir Rice. And Ohio is an open carry state. But Nakia also, they walked up on him and didn't say what he did.
That's right.
To arrest him. They didn't say anything he did that was arrestable offense.
And you have to tell.
I'm trying to place you in cuffs. For what?
Right. Yeah. If I have to place you under arrest, I have to articulate to you why I am arresting you. And I have to make sure that you understand that I'm telling you, you are under arrest. So now if you fight me, that can be resisting arrest, but all this, he was resisting arrest. How was he resisting arrest when you didn't have nothing to arrest him for?
Right, yeah.
And the DA found nothing wrong with this. They protect their own. That's it, that's all. And that's the thing. When I know that I'm not going to be held accountable for anything, I can run shop.
Right. I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Stay on code, say the proper things on camera to try to make sure I don't have to be held accountable. But now I know y'all got my back. I'm going to do whatever I want to. Go rogue.
And that's the reason why it's going to take a long time for the community and the police to really get on one accord. Like I told everybody, the trust is gone. It's going to take a long time to bring that trust back. I mean, just us as people. Can you imagine, when somebody you care about breaks your trust, that don't come back for a long time. It takes work. And so I believe that you're going to have to work on respect, and how I believe the respect has to start is these officers need to start calling officers on the carpet. This is what it is, because if
they're not going to.
But the thing is, if we're saying there's good officers, you gotta call them on the carpet, because otherwise everybody's putting y'all all in one barrel, and everybody that wears a uniform is terrible, which I can tell you that's not true.
What percentage would you say are not terrible? Because I'm like, there might be 1% at this point to me. Because the ones who are good protect the bad ones too.
They do.
Well,
but I wouldn't say, hold on, Kai. I wouldn't say they protect them. I think they get shunned off.
Say that again. They get what?
I think they get shunned off. You say bring them to the carpet, and if you got 100, say you got 100 police officers, and I'm just gonna say, okay, you got 100. I'm just gonna say 50 of them are good, 50 of them are bad. The 50 that are good can call the 50 out that are bad, but then once the 50 that are good call them out, they kind of get labeled as that guy.
They get fired.
Right. It's that too. It's kind of like the guy that turns in the illegal money that they found in the back of the car instead of taking it home and splitting it up with his own boy. He's that guy. So now you don't have any trust. So now nobody
turn it in.
Right. Yeah. Nobody comes to you. Nobody listens to what you're saying, even though everything that you're saying is valid. Everything you're saying is the right way. And they're gonna be like, man, this the dude that, man, you ain't my brother. Because I'm trying to get you to do the right thing. Like it goes back to the fear thing, and how Rachel said they use that word fear as like it's like a double standard. They can say, well, man, I was scared for my life, but in all actuality, you're scared of the community.
That part.
That part. You all was like that part right there. That part. And that's what I feel like.
We need to challenge, like, when you're talking about, let's say 50 are bad and 50 are good, and they bring them to the problem is we don't have 50 that are good bringing people to term. We got 10 maybe, I'm trying to be generous, that are trying to, and then you got another 10 who are already over on the edge, and then you got another 20 that are like, ooh, but I don't want to go against the grain.
And that's what you have.
Right, like, so I feel like it starts to become this like spectrum.
Yeah.
And the question
culture.
Culture, exactly. Where we need to be celebrating those police who are bringing people
Say that again.
to the carpet. We need to celebrate, because then we start to create a culture where that's something that is appreciated, it's respected, it's revered.
And not down upon.
I agree with that.
We're combating an entire culture that has been around for over a century, that has told people to be silent, told people to don't question, don't just look the other way, protect, and they've called it a brotherhood or a family to make you feel like you're turning on family, when really it's just a bullying or a gangster tactic to make you be quiet.
I'm just gonna put it out there. If I recover some drug money, it's not going into evidence. I got student loans.
We're on the same page.
But if you think about George Floyd, not gonna lie, I'm just saying it's not turning up. But when you think about George Floyd, you had 2 officers who had been on the force 4 days or less. They didn't teach you that in your training, so you automatically knew it was wrong. But you said you followed your training officer. That is opportunity for you to be a hero, because you could have prevented that death, because you immediately knew it was wrong. You said, well, should we turn him over? You know, your training officer is showing you the opposite of what you should be doing. So what if you reprimand this ain't how I was trained to do it? Because you can say that at work all the time. That ain't how I was trained to do it.
But you have to understand something, that your training really don't start until you get in that police car with your training officer, because every department does things differently. And I'm not taking up for those officers, but 4 days on the force, they probably didn't know what the heck to do. I mean, I don't know whether this man is lit. They're telling me he's on drugs. I'm by his feet. I really don't know what's going on. I'm just following protocol. So I really feel bad. That's a bad situation to be.
But Nakia, what protocol though is somebody has a knee on a man's neck for 8 minutes?
But you got to remember, in that state, that was I guess that was a normal thing they did. So if you got officers and you see them always doing that, you're thinking this is right. Like in Ohio, we were never taught that. None of my departments, no department that I've ever was in told me to choke nobody or put my knee in their throat. The only way I would have ever got that down and dirty is if I was fighting for my life.
Right.
At that point, bets is off. I'm digging your eyeballs out your nose. I'm biting you. I always said, if somebody kill me, y'all, cut my stomach open because I done bit their nose off. DNA in my stomach. DNA in my stomach.
All right, Mike Tyson, you biting off ears.
Wait, listen. So I really feel bad. The other thing I was gonna say is that being a police officer is a culture. It's so messed up because if you don't have strong morals, honestly, you can slip into bad behavior and not realize that, oh my God, this is getting out of hand. And then you start to look at the community as this. I don't fit in that community anymore. It's like you look at yourself above them because people, they're saying, look at these criminals, look at them, they this, they that, and in your mind you're interpreting this and all you're seeing is people that look like you. So you start to try to like disassociate yourself with them. That's why you have a lot of black officers that act just as bad or worse than some of these white officers because they're not connected with the community anymore either. But then you have some of us that feel like, look, I'm out here to make sure you good. Yeah, I'm getting your behind. You know, I was one of the officers that said, I'll take the badge off. Let's throw them things. I'll go home, you go home. You going to jail, and one of us might go to the hospital, but I'm not going to kill you. I ain't scared of you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be, we can do this all day with my cute self. And then afterwards, afterwards, I'm put my makeup on and we can be friends next day. I'm very serious, but like Anthony and Rachel said, if you're not used to that community, then it's like a foreign land for you. It's almost like being in Iraq. It's like they're foreigners to you. You're not used to how they behave. And so you're listening to things that you were taught. Niggas is bad. Niggas kill. Look at them. Then what they perpetrate about us on TVs. Look how they murder each other. Look at this. They rapists. They this. So now when police get there, they're looking at them like danger. You all are a problem, and they dehumanize us. And
that goes right back to the fear. It's the xenophobia. If we convince people that the other is scary, then we start to no longer treat them as humans. But I do want to make a point about this. When they were talking about Thomas Lane, right, being let go, he'd only been on the job 4 days, and I do understand his real training does not start. There's a difference though, because like the big argument of his lawyer was, well, he's only been on there for 4 days. The public should have been pushing off the cops. The difference is he may have only been on the job for 4 days, but he had been through the academy. He had been through the decision-making process of choosing to go into the police force. Whereas that 17-year-old girl who did the videotaping was harassed and said, well, if you really cared, you would have done something. The thing is, without her, we wouldn't have even seen this.
Well, that is an idiot because I would never tell anybody to get involved. Because that could have went really bad because what they probably would have did was they probably would have shot her or it would have just got really, really ugly. So you have to be careful. That's why I tell people, record. Yeah. That is a weapon. Record. Again, I'm not trying to take up for that officer, but he had only been on that job for 4 days. I told you, your training does not start until you get out the academy. The academy is like fundamental learning. It's almost like that just gives you the bare minimum basis of what to do. When you get in your department, your training officer teaches you the policy and procedures for that department, what you can and cannot do. Like I didn't even realize departments had chokeholds. I never heard of that.
Minnesota has the chokeholds, but it's only supposed to be, there's a breakdown of the chokeholds. And the one that he used was only supposed to be used in a case where somebody is ultimately threatening your life.
Right. Okay, my thing is, why do you even have to say that? And not being disrespectful, why would you even make the chokehold legal? Because if I'm fighting for my life, it don't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to take your nose, your eye, your eyelashes, whatever, because I'm fighting for my life. So that young officer may have been taught this is normal procedures. He's on his feet. He may not realize that George Floyd is dying. It's not like he was up there at the top where he was, and then he said, I can't breathe. And then you heard even the guy in the store, if y'all listened, he came out and said, maybe he's having a crack overdose. And then the black guy checked him and said, what the heck is you talking about? No, they choking him.
Yeah.
So it
what you said, Kai, you said he was a police officer for 4 days?
4 days.
Yeah, two of them had just graduated.
Okay.
The Asian one was 17. Derek Chauvin was 19. And then the Lane dude and the Kung dude had just graduated. So they was on the job for like 4 days.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna tell you how their training and the military training can run parallel to each other. Now, I was in the Navy, right? When I went to Afghanistan, the first time I went to Afghanistan, I had to go to San Antonio, Texas, and fly. Then I had to work with military police officers in San Antonio, Texas, to get out of the Navy's training and get into the Army's type of training. Right?
And they taught you how to do a chokehold, right?
And they taught me how to properly do a chokehold. Yeah. But the difference between the training was our motto, and as soon as you stepped in, it was, we are going to train you how you need and supposed to fight. We're going to put you in the situation. We're going to train you that you're going to be in the worst situation.
Yeah.
So when you get into those situations, you already know, well, I was trained for this, but I do know how to de-escalate it because I was already trained at a high level how to handle the situation. They take it from the top, and then they bring it down.
Bring it back down.
Teach you. The thing is, the teaching is failing.
Yeah.
I have to cross-train with Army, and then I went to Camp Lejeune, and then I cross-trained with the group called Blackwater, which is no longer allowed to train the military because they're considered kind of the militia type training. But I will say, the day I stepped off that bus, the very first thing that we did for 3 straight days was how to apply proper chokehold and mock takedown techniques.
And
they're not teaching when they say, "Oh, he applied the kudo or whatever chokehold he used." They're not teaching that. They just revert to that. That's not what they're teaching.
Right.
I've been choked out multiple times to the point where my very first time, it's to the point where they show you how to stop somebody from choking you out. But in order to learn how to choke somebody out effectively, you have to be choked out.
I like that. That's how I feel. My thing is, so then what you do for some of these officers that ain't from the hood, you put them in the gym and let them go with some of the hood boys. You got to rumble. Put the gun down and rumble your way out.
Right.
You can do that, but you're going to have a dropout rate. You want to know why you have a dropout rate? Because that's not why they became cops. They became cops to get a gun and a badge.
Yeah.
To force a power. My thing is, if you, like what you say, if you're not from the hood, if you're not from the community, but if you're not from the hood, you'll never want to take care of the hood because you don't know what goes on in the hood.
Right.
You know?
Hey, we from Shaker. We got into fights too. We from Shaker. We got in fights too.
Jocelyn. Sure.
I wouldn't say much about that. I went to Shaker for a minute.
No.
Hey, my parents went to East Tech, but what I can say about being in the Army,
East Tech.
They taught us how. My parents graduated before you did, but they taught us how to chokehold. But you're chokeholding because you're in a fight for your life. You're in hand-to-hand combat at that point. You know what I'm saying? So they teach you how to do it. They teach you how to do it safely and effectively. But at that point, I'm fighting for my life. We in hand-to-hand, no gun. So I'm gonna choke you out. I'm gonna put you to sleep.
But then again, you're gonna do everything you can do when you fight for your life, though, right?
But we're going hands up, but we throwing hands at that point.
But these police officers, these guys aren't fighting for the lives of the police officers.
Exactly.
They're fighting to get away. They're not trying to. They're not really defending themselves. You're basically walking up to a guy, hey, you look suspicious.
Yeah.
Well, how do I look suspicious? Well, you're doing this, you're doing that. No, I'm not. And he's trying to explain to you what I am, who I am, what I'm not doing, what I don't do. I don't do this, I don't do that. And you immediately go to a chokehold because he's trying to explain.
Right.
And that's where that fear comes in. My thing is, when you get put into a situation, you kind of have to look at it from the outside in, but you're still on the inside. You kind of got to look at it like how you talk in third person. You have to kind of slow everything down, and you got to listen. You got to listen. A guy is trying to tell you, oh, that's like me. Okay, I get pulled over. I have a concealed weapons permit. I can carry my gun anywhere, of course, except in churches and stuff like that. But I conceal my weapon all the time. Now, I've been pulled over countless of times, And not one time, well, I'll take it back. One time, a police officer come up to me and asked, after he ran my stuff, "Sir, are you carrying any weapons on you?" And I tell him, "Yeah, I got it."
Doesn't this computer tell them no?
It does, but I'm gonna tell you right now. The computer tells you everything about you. Like, they know my military time. They know if I have a weapon. They know what caliber. They know what kind of gun it is. They know if I would conceal. They know what permit I have, conceal, open carry. They know already what it is. But a lot of them don't even come up to and ask you that. And I go back and say that is, if anything was to go down, like you said, they use fear as a cop out. They use that as, well, he was scared. So he reacted wrong. The protocol is to ask, "Sir, do you have any weapons on you? Are you concealing any weapons on your person or in your vehicle at this time?" I tell them, "Yes, I do. I have a gun. It is on me. The ammunition is either in my glove box. The ammunition is in my trunk. The magazine is in my armrest, wherever it is." They don't ask those type of. They don't ask those type of questions here. But then, as soon as something goes left, they're ready to take the step up. And then if it does get to the situation where guns are drawn or bullets are shot or somebody's probably dead, the first thing they're going to report, well, he did have a gun in his car.
Right,
but they already knew.
The ones that don't ask, they say, well, he had a gun, and that's the first thing that you're supposed to do. The line of communication between the civilian and the police officer, the police force right now is past and beyond broken, to the point where you're like, well, shoot, we maybe like 5-10 years before we can even start to repair. Because there's
Philando Castillo told him he had a gun.
He told him he had a gun. But the thing is,
see how that went.
Right, but the thing is, in many states, and I need people to hear this, in many states, if you have a carry conceal permit, the officer does not have to ask you. You are supposed to tell them. If you don't, you can get your permit revoked immediately. And actually, I think in some states, you can go to jail. So hear what I'm telling y'all. It's not
Arizona's one of them.
If you have a carry conceal permit, you are supposed to tell that officer, "I have a carry conceal permit. My gun is not on my person, or it is on my person," because law enforcement we do know, I can see you have a carry conceal permit, and if you don't tell me, if I want to be a jerk, I can do it. I can take your weapon from you. I can make sure your carry conceal gets revoked. That's why you are supposed to tell. Trust me, I'm telling y'all. Don't y'all?
Now, that's the first time. That's the first time I've heard of that before. I didn't know, and like you say, you learn something new every day.
Yes, that is
I didn't know you had to tell them.
Question: do they, when you're getting your permit, is that something that you're taught? Like, are people?
Yes, when you go. Yes, they teach you. They tell you that. Okay. And if you don't tell the officer, it's not on me to ask you. So a lot of times we be cool and we'll just be like, okay, I know he got one, but don't get it twisted. They can full of flim flam on you.
So Nakia, our military service come up on y'all computers too?
No, not on mine. I don't know. You know, some departments are more.
Dang. Because I'm like, why I still be getting tickets then?
No, I have no idea what your.
You got to get your veteran plates.
Well,
they come up on ours.
One time I got stopped by a trooper, and I used to give my military ID, my car insurance, and then my license. And the trooper gave me back my Army ID before he walked away and took the other two. I was like, damn. But you know, the attorney, I was like, I'm going to take it. But one of the attorneys for the Minnesota police officers said that people in the crowd should have intervened.
It was the attorney.
We'll have more dead bodies on the ground.
Right.
Grasping at straws. Now you're blaming the civilian.
And that was as an attorney, you shouldn't be attacking civilians like that. What you should have said.
He said that
what you should have said was that training officer was training my client the wrong way. And that's another thing I talk about training officers. I'm like, it's sad to say, but many departments choose training officers by their stats. How many arrests you got? How many tickets you wrote? Instead of saying, are you in the community? Because there's some officers that are in the community. No, those are your training officers. Those are the ones you want to train, the ones that have a good rapport with the community, that know how to de-escalate things, and that, you know, that
19 complaints.
Listen, verbal judo is the best thing you could ever have, especially as a female officer. and I'm a little cute anyway. When them big men would get to tripping and acting crazy, I was like, baby, come on now. I'm too little. You're gonna hurt me. And come on. And they'd be like, you know what? All right, Miss.
Get out of here.
I'm honest to God, I'm very sick. Jocelyn, have you been on the phone?
Right. I've been on the phone with her
and I'm like, baby, come on, sweetie. If you want to hurt me, they be like, no. You know what?
Oh, man.
And I'm like, shoot, I use my verbal judo, shoot, I use whatever. Listen, my pretty face, well, you don't want to hurt me, do you? In my mind, because I'm thinking, I can't beat this man. Honestly, and I'm waiting for my backup to come, and I really don't want to have to take a life. If I took a life, I wanted to feel like that was my last resort. I could. Anthony, you were at my house when I came home. That was the first time I met my sister, and remember the little 14-year-old girl with the knife.
Yep.
Would you tell them how shook up I was?
And she came out. It was to a point where she was rambling.
Yeah.
Like. It's like she would explain something, and then she goes right back to it and explain it again, and then she went right back to it again. She was shaking, and me being in certain situations overseas, I understood exactly what she was going through. When you have your weapon out and you're in condition 1 and it's pointed at a body, something that brass comes out that will rip that flesh up. It only takes a couple pounds of pressure to end a life.
And
it ain't a lot.
It was.
Wait, Nakia, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you, and I mean, I read your book, so I know what you wrote in the book, but why did you become a police officer?
What impacted my decision the most is when I seen Rodney King. That shook me. Because
so that right there is huge, right? I'm sorry, I want you to say your piece, because this is really important, because I want to go back to something that Anthony said.
It was the Rodney King beating, and because I had never experienced a bad situation with police, and then seeing it with Rodney King, I kept saying, it can't be this way. I want to help. I want to be one of them good officers. I want to be that black face that they can look at and see we're not a threat. I felt like if you see me, maybe you'll look at others and see we're not a threat. But I also wanted to be the one to be like, not on my watch. If I'm supposed to serve and protect, even if it means I have to protect you against my own people in blue. You know what I'm saying? So the Rodney King beating is really what sparked me to be a law enforcement officer.
And that reasoning, I wish we could say that more people had truly humanistic and trying to be a part of the change is the reason that made them be officers. But like Anthony pointed out, you have so many officers who go into that not because they want to understand the community that they're working on, not because they want to protect and build up that community. It often is protecting another community, and or to have that power, to have that badge, to be able to have that say over people, which is going back when we're talking about if we were truly doing community engaged policing or compassionate policing, we would care about our fellow citizens with PTSD. We would care about our citizens with mental health concerns. We would want to know why somebody is somewhere before we're acting out on. We would want to know the community we're in before we're going to be responsible for making decisions that impact the rest of their lives and or take their lives.
That's right.
We have a fundamental issue that it's attracting just like you said again, the wrong people into the wrong profession that gives them all the kinds of wrong power.
Yeah. That's right. But you know what's interesting? Have you noticed that a lot of those officers don't work in their communities? You want to know why? You want to know why?
Why?
Because the departments will not hire them.
Why?
Most of those officers that come into our communities is because the higher up departments, they be like, oh no, they see it in you. You won't bring that in this community. And so what they do is they go into our neighborhoods, and we so thirsty for, we just want law, we just want officers, and instead
of take anybody,
instead of doing our due diligence and asking the questions, why do you want to come way over here and you live 45, 50 minutes away? Why do you want to work here? You know, and that should be a question that should be asked. You know, I know we're over our hour, so we're not going to be able to get to the last.
I just wanted to piggyback off of something Anthony said when he was talking about the training portion. If I think, and maybe you can answer this, Kai, if there was more physical training so they could see what it would feel like to be choked out, or to be put in that position. And like Anthony said, people would start dropping out. That would weed out some of this riffraff, because as I watch these videos and you see these jokers cannot fight, they reach for their guns so fast so that they can get rid of, the situation instead of going hand to fist. And if they had to go hand to fist, we'd have more lives saved, more people going home. You might get arrested, you might have a couple lumps, but both of y'all going home alive.
That's right. And I'm gonna tell y'all, my lieutenant in East Cleveland told me when I came, he said, "Hello, Miss Jones." No, that wasn't Miss Jones. And I'm just so used to being Miss Jones. Sorry, y'all.
Mrs. Jones.
I was Miss Harris. Miss Harris. He said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "You will know that you're really a police officer when you take that first behind whooping, or you get so close to it." And I'm looking at him like, "What do you mean?" Well, I thought I was a cop. I didn't think I'm supposed to ever get a whooping again. I thought I was supposed to be big bad. And he said, "No," he said, "because that's going to teach you not to depend on your gun."
Yeah, you got police officers that pull a gun out and whoever they're trying to detain, and you clearly see they don't have a weapon.
That's right. I've been punched by a man.
If I don't see a weapon, like somebody was saying something about the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Okay. I did convoys in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course when we do convoys in not in Afghanistan, in Iraq, we go through the mountains. Everybody knows it's insurgents in the mountains. You want to know what our rules of engagement is? Until you're fired upon. You know
really?
What that means until you hear that.
Absolutely. And it's got to be close enough to where you know it's at you.
Well, I need y'all to say that one more time. So please say that one more time. Listen to this, y'all.
Our rules of engagement for the military. Now we're defending the country. Our rules of engagement are as follows. We can be in condition 1, but we cannot fire. We cannot return fire. We cannot fire if we don't hear or if we are not fired upon, which means I can be in a convoy and we can have insurgents literally 10, 15, 5, 12 feet away from us, guns pointed at us. We cannot defend ourselves with our weapon. We have to wait until a shot is fired. Then we can open fire. So you mean to tell me that I can go abroad, I can go all the way over here to people who don't like us, don't like nothing about this country, and I can take shots, but I can't shoot until they shoot at me. And they got weapons. They have guns.
Wow.
And this is what
and they're trying to kill us.
Wait. Trouble for it if you do it, right? If you were to
Say
shoot
again?
first, you would get in trouble for it if you shot first. Correct?
Yeah, it's a place in Kansas. It's called Leavenworth. They making license plates and sneakers there.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna be there for at least 20 years.
So you mean to tell me? That the military, y'all rules of engagement is even if the enemy is standing there with guns pointed towards y'all. This is so powerful. I need you to hear this because they say that police is paramilitary, but what I see is they take the small parts of what y'all do and they put it in, but they don't go by the entire. So you mean to tell me they're saying you can't fire unless you're fired upon, but you have officers shooting unarmed black men?
Yeah, depending on the theater, depending on the theater that you're in, you're doing convoys and stuff like that. Now, if you're in a full all-out battle and you're breaching and you're going into cities and you're searching, it's totally different.
That's different, right?
That's totally different. But when you're just driving and it's like, okay, let's get this tanker. We got about a 15-mile drive. Let's get this convoy going. It's no. Oh, I see a guy in the hills. Oh, light it up. No, it's
so can y'all
it's
shoot
not like that.
unarmed people, civilians?
No, not supposed to.
Absolutely not.
Now that right there gets you about 50 years in Leavenworth.
Really?
Wow.
There's more.
You can't get nobody to get freaking 20 years, 10 years, no years for killing an unarmed black man.
Yeah.
There's more restraint more than there is in our own policing of our own citizens.
Wow.
Say that one more time.
There's more restraint when you're engaged in war than there is in policing our own citizens.
Absolutely.
It should be the other way around.
Policing black citizens.
Listen, y'all maybe need to start. Listen,
Yes.
some of y'all may need to go into the academies and start teaching. I'm being so serious about that. I'm real serious. I know that sounds crazy, but they're asking what can we do? Maybe we need to have some ex-military go on there and teach them.
They don't want that though.
Nah, we don't need to
at this
train
point,
them.
they're scratching at anything they can get at this point because it's so bad. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe you need to get some veterans, because we respect them and we love them, have them come in there and start training these officers.
The best training, what they say, the best training is the scenario, and they don't train in a scenario. When you train with when you have a training, when you're in a scenario and you're training in that, like when I went to Camp Lejeune, everything was scenario. It was never if this was to happen. It was always put in. So when you breach this, this is going to happen. This is how you handle this situation.
Right.
When you breach this, this is how you handle this situation. When you're doing a personnel search, this is how you search him. This is how you make sure that when you're searching him, you're covering all your bases. Now, in the instant that he gets riled up, this is how you handle that situation. This is how you do this situation. I've been on boardings in Pakistani boardings where it went from compliant to non-compliant in 5 minutes, and everything changes. So if you're going somewhere and you're expecting it to be non-compliant, you're expecting it to be compliant, you get there, it's like, one thing sets off it, oh, this is non-compliant. Your mind has to shift into that non-compliant, but you can't shift into kill everything that you see. You have to shift in, oh, it's non-compliant, but I need to stay within my guidelines because I'm not trying to go to Leavenworth for 30 years. And I'm also not trying to get my battle buddy, I'm not trying to get him killed. It's never about me. It's always about the guy that you're with. You have a battle buddy for a reason.
That's not law enforcement here, though.
You bring your partner, right? Your partner is supposed to be your battle buddy. As your battle buddy, he should be able to call you out on anything, good or bad.
And the thing is, you said that you're in war, so you already know people want to kill you because it's war.
Right. It's a war.
Right.
Exactly. But they're approaching American citizens who ain't trying to kill them and kill them.
But I agree.
Yeah, but that's because they're still looking at it as if they are in war.
They're looking at it as a threat.
This is their war.
Yeah,
but the skin color is a threat when a person don't possess a weapon. Elijah McClain was not a threat. He didn't possess a weapon. But you approached him as, but maybe this is a war.
But then that's where you get into the cultural component, right? Now you're not talking about a threat of you're about to shoot me with a gun, but you're a threat to my success, my privilege, my comfort, my generational wealth, my opportunity.
Right.
This is where it's like, we got to start talking about the larger cultural issues. Anybody right now who's watching, who has wondered what systemic racism is, it's this is systemic racism.
Absolutely. So
we have the officers in the Klan anyway, so.
Yeah. It's true.
Always have been.
Yeah.
And
it's not inherited.
And I think during the polygraph test, you asked us all kind of personal questions. You should ask officers, are you racist?
Are you racist?
Have you ever been a part of a hate crime group?
Absolutely.
Have you ever committed a hate crime?
But they
Can
don't
you work with men? Can you work with women? You need to know that. You know what I'm saying? That's easy to do. That's real easy.
Yeah, I was always told, and you're taught just about everything. The only thing that you inherit is like, man, you inherit things from your parents, like their looks, their certain things that they do as you're born. It's just like, I inherit certain things from my mom that she does, but that's from birth. That's because that's where I came from. Right. Racism isn't inherited, it's taught.
It's taught. Absolutely.
It's taught.
And
it's literally taught. So people, you can choose to be racist. You can choose to not be racist. You can choose to love people. You can choose to hate. You have a choice. Just because everybody else did it, you know the difference between right and wrong, man. Yeah, everybody knows right and wrong. If you don't know right and wrong, it's something really wrong with you. Either you're slow, or you have some type of disorder where you can't function, or your brain is not. It doesn't process. Oh, this is the right way. This is wrong. But you know what racism is. You know what it looks like. You know what it sounds like. Yeah. I work in right now. I'm in a state like Virginia. Down this part of Virginia is not as bad, but it's not as good either. I work still work for the government, and you see it every day. Like it seems like now, they're just so flamboyant with it. It's like, oh, so y'all really are comfortable now.
Caring.
And when you get comfortable with doing the right thing, when you get comfortable with doing the wrong thing, sooner or later you think that that's right.
That's
because
right.
you're so comfortable with doing it.
Yeah, because when I lived in Virginia, they put that slave statue up, and it's only 3 in the world, and they put it up in Richmond to symbolize the places where the slave trade took place.
It's gone now.
And they took it down?
What? They took it down. Any statue that had anything to do with slave owners,
slavery,
they're gone.
Yeah, but when I lived there is when they put that one up.
They just started
taking it down like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they started taking them down.
And they don't realize how that re-traumatizes us.
Right. They don't care. They realize it. They don't care. Right. Because it's heritage. My heritage.
Yeah.
They don't care.
They say
and that's the thing.
They say
they're racist. They don't care.
Right.
They're fine with it.
My thing is, this country fought each other, which is crazy. But Civil War, this one country fought against each other. One country carried the American flag. Other country carried the Confederate flag. At that time, they allowed the slaves to fight in there for freedom, and I get that. But the Confederate flag, the main reason with the fighting, one of the main reasons was they didn't want to abolish slavery. So if I don't want to abolish slavery and I'm carrying this flag, and this flag is the symbol, because everybody is willing with this, you're kneeling for the national anthem and you're doing all this. Well, people don't realize that the guy that wrote the national anthem is Francis Scott Key, and he owned slaves.
Right.
It's not about. I didn't spend 15 years and a total of 8 years away from my kids for a flag, and I don't want to I'm not discrediting the flag. I didn't spend it for a flag. The flag is material. That I didn't spend it on the flag. I did it for the people that are in this country. I serve the country. When I serve the country, that means I'm serving the people.
That's right.
You can wear a red T-shirt, a black flag, orange flag, green flag, but as an American or African American, those what I was protecting. I'm not shooting somebody because they said F the American flag. Right. Okay, cool. F the American flag. I didn't sew the flag. I didn't do it, but I'm not fighting for a flag. I'm fighting for a people. Police need to start fighting for a people. They're not fighting for a people.
That's right.
That right there. So we did go over our hour, y'all, and it's so good. So I want to ask Anthony and Scooter to come back because I really want them to chime on next week with that. The other thing we're going to talk about is really, really big.
We're going to talk about the Karens.
And we're going to talk about the Karens. And I just, before I say my closing remarks, let me say something positive. To all the good officers out there, we want you to know that we are praying for you. I understand. I know whether you're 1% or 50% or 2%, we're praying for you because I understand what that feels like to be behind enemy lines. And y'all understand, y'all get where I'm going. When you're standing behind enemy lines because half of the officers still want to continue with this messed up behavior. The other ones want to walk off the force, so they're leaving you there by yourselves and the community don't trust you. So that's a hard pill to swallow. So we're praying for you all. We are truly, oh my God. We are truly, I have no idea why your brother keeps texting me. Thing is going off. We are praying. We are praying for you all. We love you all. Please stay safe. To the veterans, Anthony, Scooter, thank you all for serving this country. We honor you. We salute you. I can't say enough. I really want to fight to get something put on the ballot where you all have free healthcare. That's how I feel about it. You all should have free healthcare and you all should have your own house. That's just, if they fought, they should be, and we could give that. That's a sad thing that we could do it and not be broke. That's the truth. I want to tell my co-hosts, I love you all very, very much. This was amazing. I can't wait till next week. I'll be so excited about these shows. Mm-hmm. I want to leave this last message to Karens.
Oh,
Karens, you all have been running amok for a long time. This didn't just start this way. You all were the same women, and I'm calling you Karens because I got a lot of white. I have many white friends. I'm not that person. Like I got one white friend, and I'm mixed. So I you Karens are the same ones that used to lie on our black men and say they tried to rape you or touch you or looked you a certain way. They will get lynched or go to jail and you knew good and well. Let me explain something to Karen. Meet Nikki. If you ever run up on me like that, Karen, I have a personal bank account set aside to get me out of jail. And I'm gonna leave it right there. And the thing is, I don't believe in killing anybody. You gonna catch these hands.
Right.
I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's cute. And I think you ought to be ashamed of yourself by the way you acting. Run up on some Nickies. Karen, meet Nikki. I'm going to say that with love. I'll leave it like that.
Oh, with love. She says that with love. Woo.
Don't say it with love.
No, that's my word.
That's your word. Say it with love. Say it with love. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end with thanking you guys for coming on. You guys taught me a lot today about the rules of engagement and all of that, and how it kind of parallels with the police officers. And I think that perhaps they need to receive that same training. I know I've always, until tonight, thought that the military training was something, that we shouldn't have the police have that same sort of training, but I didn't realize what type of training they had. To me, it sounds like that training is much better. And it would help them to de-escalate situations when it comes to dealing with someone that is unarmed or that you might really fear for your life with. It seems like we would have more people going home alive than what we currently are seeing today. Okay. So I really appreciate you guys coming in and dispelling some of those myths about the military, because I really didn't know that. And I can't wait for next week's show. As if they're coming back next week, I'm really excited about that. We're gonna talk about these Karens. Even though my alter ego is not Nikki, I don't really know what her name is, but you don't want to meet her. That is all that I can say.
All that I can say.
Ooh, I can
These sisters stand up for our kings. You better recognize and you better know it.
I can't wait for a Karen to roll up on me. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. And we will end that with loyalty. My other co-host.
Oh, she's dancing. I get in. One thing is, again, both of you, thank you so much. I feel like today, to put it into context, that we do more, like that there's, again, more restraint within war than there is in our everyday interaction for the people who are supposed to be protecting the larger community. And Rachel said, specifically targeted at Black and Brown communities. And all these people out there that are saying all lives matter, all lives matters. Do they?
They ain't even wearing a mask, so no.
To me, this was, I think, honestly, I tend to be pretty harshly critical of the concept of war and, world interactions in that way. I tend to be a bit of a pacifist, but you just blew my mind today. And thank you for all of the knowledge you've shared. Anything from the concealed weapons and concealed carries and ways that we could be training. I look forward to both of you being back on here. I also want to say to anyone who is listening that anyone right now who is feeling like, is this going to do anything? Oh, should we keep having these conversations? Should we keep protesting? It's already working. It's working not just in policies, but we're starting to see people's true colors coming out.
Oh, yeah.
They are now, they knew how to hold on for a while, right? And they knew how to do the, okay, well, only if they weren't rioting or if they weren't, and could kind of give us the, But now it's starting to come out. Mm-hmm. People are starting to, they're agitated. And the more you keep that pressure on, it's harder to keep that dirty little secret they've had tucked away and their real thoughts about people. It's coming out. Keep it up. Keep the pressure. Keep posting on social media. Keep having the conversations. Keep protesting. Keep contacting your legislature. Do not stop now. We are actually making some headway.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that will make us vivacious when we overcome one day in the future. I don't expect that this is going to be, it's not going to happen immediately. But we cannot rest, and we have to start setting that precedent. So the younger generation who is trying so hard in fighting, that they keep that fight, so then they can be the elders and the mentors teaching those young people to do that fight. Just keep it up.
That's right, Heidi.
All my relations, Matakio Asin.
All right, Rachel.
All right,
I don't even know where to begin. You know, my word is life, but let a Karen run up on me, I'm going to choke the life out of her at this point. So, you know, I went to shake her, and I ain't no punk. So, you know, people need to mind their own business and stay in their place. We ain't no punks, Heidi. I think people get it twisted that we suckers or something. We ain't like that. I don't even really have enough time to do appropriate ending, because we haven't even touched a segment of the criminal justice system as far as wrongful convictions. I watched something where somebody spent 30 years in jail, over 50 years in jail. So we haven't even touched the tip of that iceberg and things we need to fight for. But thank y'all for being on the show. It was great. You know, I'm an Army girl, so, you know, whatever y'all did in the Navy is whatever. Thank you for your service. I was never deployed or anything like that, so I got to, you know, push some papers and stuff like that. It's all good though. Who else? But just thank you so much, and hopefully our audience got something out of these conversations. They do every week, and there's always more to learn, because we go about our lives not paying attention to what happened to other people, because, you know, we are self-absorbed, and that's okay. But I like the movement where we're paying attention and we're putting action and we're changing things. So I like it, and whatever I could do to be a part of the solution. I can't really go out there and hit those front lines because I got a medical condition and I ain't trying to fool with COVID. I got to choke that out too. But, you know, thank you for listening, and whatever you can do to fight, even if it's a small part, is better than doing nothing at all.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I want to let them both say goodnight, but we also want to make sure that we put in the comments, anybody that, especially military, if you are suffering from PTSD, please, you all reach out to somebody. We'll make sure that we put the 1-800 veterans hotline or something at the bottom of to tag it in. Anybody dealing with mental issues right now or emotional issues, it's a lot going on. COVID is back on the rise. You all, please put your mask on. If you don't want to protect yourself, protect people like me and Rachel. I have lupus. Jocelyn deals with heart issues. Rachel has other heart issues as well. Please protect us. Again, you all, please be safe, and we love you, and we will make sure we put that at the bottom. We're going to let Anthony and Scooter say goodnight as well.
Go ahead, Scoot. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real simple and sweet and to the point. That's you know, all I'm gonna say is, watch your mouth, boy. All I'm gonna say is, we just need to pray for our police for restraint. You know, it's we understand that, you know, everybody goes through the situation, and you know, when your heart gets to pumping and your adrenaline gets to going, you know, things get to happening. Well, what you got to understand is muscle memory goes a long way, and that's what we're saying. If more training comes involved, you'll start to do things muscle memory instead of you having to actually think what you're going to do next. Because when you start thinking what you're going to do next, you've already lost.
Lost it.
You're already lost. We both, me and my brother, done pretty much the same thing throughout our military career. We've been in a couple of things, conflicts and stuff. He's been in firefights. I've been in firefights. I've had RPGs shot at me by the same guy 4 times. And the fifth time, he didn't even shoot it at us. He just looked at us the next day, and I couldn't shoot him. So, you know, you have to practice restraint. We have to learn how to get along and live along with each other. And I just hope the police, the ones that aren't getting it, gets it soon.
Yeah. To piggyback what he said, if you take that, when you take that oath, I know when we took an oath in MEPS, when I took my oath in MEPS 17 and 18 years old, it says to support foreign and domestic. I mean, it's here and there. You sign up to do a job, but your job is just a little unique. Your job, you have people's lives in your hand. Like, people can either go home, go to jail, or go to the morgue off of your decision, off of your training. And if you're trained wrong, going home kind of gets eliminated out of the equation first.
Yep.
And going to jail kind of goes to last. So the first it's like the first result is we're going to the morgue. Your parents is getting a phone call. So the only thing that I ask for is, like my brother said, to just think and train, but you got to also care. You got to care. You can't just care about where you're from. You got to care about what you're protecting. If you don't care about what you're protecting, you're the problem. You're not the solution. And you said it's a 1%. It is a 1%. The 1% could be a big 1%. But for those who are that 1%, I mean, I salute you. And hopefully that 1% can trickle down, and that 1 can go to 5, and 5 can go to 10. And you never know what that 1% can actually do, you know. But I just need them to be accountable and really care.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So with that, we're signing off. We wanted to make sure that we shout out Elijah McClain, hashtag, we're tired of being hashtags, and also Joe Louis Castillas. Am I saying that right, Jocelyn? I know it's
I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
Say it again.
Castellanos.
Okay, Joe Louis.
I like that.
Okay.
Castellanos.
We're praying for the families of both of them. God bless you all, and good night.
Good night.
Peace.
Good night.
Still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
All right, we good, y'all. We good. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Did you stop recording?
Oh,
yeah,
hold on. Let me stop the recording. Jeez. Stop recording.